We are counting down the 10 new bikes that are unexpectedly stalling in showrooms this year. From stylish cruisers plagued by hidden discomfort to high-tech flagships with shocking software failures, these models look great on paper but are falling flat once real-world riders dig in. We will reveal which design, pricing, or reliability problems landed each one on this list, so you do not risk your hard-earned cash. Let us kick things off with number 10. The BMW R18 Cruiser turns heads with its sweeping chrome and imposing boxer engine, but the showroom shine quickly fades for riders facing the reality of daily use. Owners in city climates report leg area temperatures spiking above 48 degrees Celsius after just half an hour of stop-and-go traffic. The engine's classic air and oil cooling struggles to shed heat at low speeds, leaving commuters uncomfortably hot and questioning long-term comfort. Vibration complaints echo across rider forums, especially at urban speeds where the R18's hefty weight and old-school design become more of a burden than a badge of authenticity. Despite a claimed 91 horsepower, testers describe the throttle response as sluggish, with the bike's mass dulling any sense of urgency off the line. Dealers have noticed the hesitation. By mid-2026, markdowns of up to 19% off manufacturer suggested retail price are common, a clear sign that demand is not matching supply. Resale values have softened, with used listings piling up even as new models remain unsold. For buyers, the allure of premium branding and retro styling comes with a warning. What looks timeless in the showroom can mean discomfort and rapid depreciation on the street. Before committing, prospective owners are urged to check for excessive heat after a city ride, scrutinize dealer pricing, and weigh the risks of holding a model that is losing value faster than its rivals. Yamaha's MT-10 roars onto spec sheets with 158 horsepower and a reputation for wild, addictive acceleration. But behind the rush, a different story is playing out on dealership floors. Used examples from the first model year are already selling at prices 22% lower than their original sticker price, a drop that is hard to ignore for anyone thinking about long-term value. Auction data from major US markets shows these bikes changing hands quickly, but not for the reasons Yamaha hoped. It's not a lack of performance. Riders praise the engine's punch, but the ownership math is scaring off buyers. The required valve clearance check, at 26,000 miles, lands at nearly $900, and that is before factoring in the higher insurance premiums and fuel costs tied to its reputation. In regions where naked bikes once dominated, the MT-10's price-to-value gap has left demand lagging behind supply. For thrill seekers tempted by the spec sheet, the warning is clear. Excitement at the throttle does not always translate to a wise investment. Indian Scout 60 and Chief models entered 2026 with a heritage badge and a price tag that aimed to challenge both midsize and heavyweight cruiser rivals. But at 560 pounds wet, these bikes tip the scales well above most direct competitors, leaving them stranded between categories. Riders looking for nimble city manners find the Scout 60 cumbersome, while those chasing long-haul comfort or big-engine prestige see the Chief outclassed by full-size tourers. This identity confusion has hit owners hard at trade-in time. Resale figures show a 25% drop in value within just 18 months, outpacing segment averages and raising red flags for anyone thinking about long-term ownership. Owner surveys add to the concern. Vibration above 70 miles per hour and a lack of refinement in daily riding are frequent complaints. For buyers, the checklist is sobering. Weight that limits versatility, depreciation that erodes value, and a riding experience that struggles to justify the price. The Scout 60 and Chief now serve as cautionary tales for how category confusion can turn promising models into fast depreciators. Triumph's Bonneville Bobber turns heads with its stripped-back lines and classic silhouette, but the reality of daily ownership often tells a different story. Early adopters report a pattern of electronics failures, ride modes freezing, warning lights flashing, and control modules demanding replacement before the odometer even hits 9,000 miles. Service invoices stack up quickly, with the average electronics fix landing just north of $1,000. For a bike positioned as a modern classic, these repair costs sting, especially when they surface outside the warranty window. Comfort hasn't fared much better. The Bobber's 31-inch seat height, paired with its mid-mounted pegs, puts knees at a sharp angle that wears thin on longer rides. Commuters and weekend riders alike mention cramped legs and a perched riding position that feels more punishing than poised. Owner surveys highlight this geometry as a deal breaker for anyone over average height, with many turning to aftermarket solutions or abandoning the model altogether. Resale values reflect the trouble. Listings show a clear dip once warranty coverage ends, and buyers have grown wary of repeated small-ticket repairs. For anyone considering the bobber, the checklist now includes a careful review of service records, a test ride long enough to judge comfort, and a hard look at potential out-of-pocket expenses. Style may draw attention, but hidden costs and daily discomfort are proving impossible to ignore. Kawasaki's Eliminator rolled into 2026 showrooms with a promise: affordable entry into the cruiser world, a claimed 45 horsepower, and a price tag just under $7,000. On paper, it looked like a win for new riders and budget commuters, but real-world testing told a different story. Dyno runs revealed a torque curve that falls flat above city speeds, forcing the 400 cubic centimeter engine to spin at 8,000 RPM just to hold 75 miles per hour. Riders report the bike feels strained on the highway, with little in reserve for passing or climbing hills. This lack of mid-range pull is not just a spec sheet quirk, it shapes the daily experience, especially for those hoping to use the Eliminator for longer commutes or weekend trips. The market has reacted quickly. Within 6 months, average resale values dropped by 16%, one of the steepest declines among new models in its class. Used examples pile up on classified sites, often listed thousands of dollars below the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Competing bikes like the Royal Enfield Meteor and Honda Rebel 500, both offering stronger low-end torque and more relaxed highway manners, have held their value better and kept buyers interested. For anyone considering the Eliminator, the checklist is clear. Test ride at sustained highway speeds, compare torque numbers closely, and factor in the likelihood of rapid depreciation. Affordability alone is not enough if a bike struggles to deliver where it counts. Harley-Davidson's Nightster arrived with a promise of modern retro style and a 97 horsepower RevMax engine, but real-world rides have exposed a different reality. Riders stepping off the lot quickly noticed the throttle-by-wire system does not deliver the smooth, predictable response expected from a premium cruiser. Below 3,000 RPM, dyno charts reveal a surging power curve, with throttle openings that feel abrupt, making low-speed riding jittery and unsettling, especially in traffic or tight corners. Owner forums are filled with complaints about the bike's twitchy throttle mapping, with some reporting stalls when easing off the gas at low speeds. This lack of refinement has not just affected ride quality, it has hammered resale value. Used Nightsters are flooding online marketplaces, with supply up 160% year over year. Dealers, facing rows of unsold units, have been forced into deep discounts and tough negotiations. Buyers now routinely secure thousands of dollars off the manufacturer's suggested retail price, but even with incentives, the market is wary. Harley's reputation for value retention has taken a hit, leaving owners upside down on loans and hesitant to trade in. For anyone considering a Nightster, the checklist is essential. Demand a full test ride focused on throttle feel at low speeds, review ride-by-wire service history, and use the current oversupply as leverage for a steep discount. In a brand built on confidence and tradition, unpredictable throttle response, and a collapsing used market have turned the Nightster's modern appeal into a cautionary tale. KTM's 790 and 890 Duke models entered 2026 with strong credentials, agile chassis, lively engines, and a reputation for sharp handling. On paper, these midweight nakeds looked like the answer for riders wanting real-world speed without superbike compromises. But a closer look at owner experiences and dealer records reveals a different story. Reports of stalling at low engine speed began surfacing as early as the 2024 refresh, with some riders able to reproduce stalls by gently rolling off the throttle below 3,000 revolutions per minute. By mid-2025, the issue had grown widespread enough to trigger multiple engine control unit software updates, but the fixes proved inconsistent. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration filings show at least 2 recall campaigns targeting stalling and traction control calibration. Yet complaints kept piling up on forums and service logs. Dealers found themselves caught in a recall backlog. Over 7,000 vehicle identification numbers were flagged for oil consumption checks, and service departments struggled to keep up with parts availability. The average time a new 790 or 890 Duke sat unsold on the showroom floor stretched to 28 days, nearly double the segment norm. For buyers, this means waiting weeks for promised fixes or facing the risk of inheriting unresolved gremlins. Before considering a Duke, prospective owners are urged to check recall completion status, ask for a stall reproduction test during a cold start, and review oil consumption records. With software-linked failures and repair delays now a well-known risk, the once surefire KTM midweight has become a cautionary tale about how controllable defects can stall even the most promising sales momentum. Ducati's Panigale V4 commands attention with a spec sheet that promises 215 horsepower and MotoGP-inspired electronics. But the reality of owning one in 2026 is defined by a different set of numbers. For many riders, the first 12,000 miles mean at least 6 trips to the service bay, with each visit bringing a fresh round of expenses. Under track conditions, owner logbooks and dyno-backed oil burn tests reveal a need to top up oil every 600 miles, an interval that turns routine maintenance into a near-constant ritual. Service invoices at the 20,000 kilometer mark routinely approach $11,700, a figure that dwarfs even the steepest costs in the superbike category. This is not just about the price of high-performance parts. It is the relentless pace of upkeep, oil changes, valve checks, clutch inspections, and electronics diagnostics that wears down even the most dedicated enthusiasts. Riders who expected a race replica for the street find themselves budgeting for a machine that demands both time and money at a rate few anticipated. Dealers have responded by offering incentives, yet inventory moves slowly as word spreads about the true cost of ownership. Prospective buyers are now urged to scrutinize service histories, ask for oil consumption logs, and calculate not just the purchase price, but the long-term financial commitment. For anyone drawn by the Panigale's raw numbers, the real equation is found in the fine print, where headline performance comes at a premium few are willing to pay. BMW's R300 GS entered 2026 as the adventure bike to beat, on paper at least. The spec sheet boasts 145 horsepower, 110 pound-feet of torque, and a suite of electronic aids designed to make long-distance travel effortless. But riders and dealers are confronting a different reality as electrical headaches mount. Owner logs show repeated cases of the battery draining flat in as little as 48 hours of inactivity, leaving a $20,000 motorcycle unable to start without a jump. Some attribute the rapid discharge to always-on electronics, alarm systems, GPS modules, and keyless ignition, but the scale of complaints has surprised even seasoned BMW technicians. ABS warning lights have become another sore spot. Forum threads and service records reveal a pattern. The R1300 GS triggers faults at nearly 3 times the rate seen in competing adventure models. These are not just nuisance warnings. Some riders report losing anti-lock function mid-ride, forcing unscheduled stops and emergency dealer visits. The backlog for electrical diagnostics and module replacements has grown, with some shops quoting wait times up to 3 weeks. Dealers are feeling the pinch. Despite the GS's reputation, inventory is piling up, and units are sitting unsold for longer than any previous generation. By early summer, average discounts reached 14% off the manufacturer's suggested retail price, an unheard-of concession for a flagship BMW. For buyers, the checklist now includes testing for battery drain after 2 days parked, verifying ABS operation through multiple ignition cycles, and scrutinizing service logs for unresolved electrical issues. The R1300 GS's promise of worry-free adventure is being tested by reliability concerns that no amount of premium branding can cover. In a segment where trust and uptime are everything, even small doubts about electrical integrity can topple a leader. KTM's 1390 Super Duke R was launched as the ultimate hyper-naked, boasting a claimed 190 horsepower and 145 Nm of torque from its enlarged LC8 V-twin. The promise was simple: more power, more technology, and sharper handling than ever before. But as bikes rolled into showrooms, a different reality began to surface, one that would turn the 1390 into the year's most notorious underperformer. Independent dyno sessions quickly revealed a troubling pattern. Despite bold marketing, torque delivery between 3,000 and 4,000 revolutions per minute fell short by as much as 15% compared to KTM's own numbers. Overlay charts from multiple test shops showed a pronounced dip, a torque hole that left the bike feeling flat and unpredictable in the heart of the usable rev range. For a machine built around explosive mid-range, this gap was not just a technical quirk. It changed the entire riding experience, especially in situations where smooth, predictable power is critical. The real danger came from the software. Owners began reporting sudden engine control unit triggered stalls, often mid-corner, or when rolling off the throttle at low speeds. Service logs and forum threads filled with accounts of the engine cutting out without warning, sometimes leaving riders scrambling to recover lean angle or avoid traffic. These incidents were not isolated. A growing stack of dealer case files documented multiple stall events per bike, with some owners facing repeat failures even after software updates. Dealers responded by freezing inventory, holding back new stock until a promised firmware patch could be delivered. Some shops went weeks without releasing a single 1390 to customers, worried about liability and the risk of further warranty claims. For KTM, the combination of a glaring torque deficit and a safety-critical stalling issue proved disastrous. Days on lot figures climbed, and the backlog of unsold units became impossible to ignore. For prospective buyers, the checklist is now non-negotiable. Demand a dyno printout showing torque at 3,000 to 4,000 revolutions per minute. Insist on a full cold start stall test, and verify that the latest engine control unit firmware is installed. Even then, the lingering risk and potential for lost confidence on the road have made the 1390 Super Duke R the cautionary tale of 2026, proof that headline power means little when real-world flaws go unchecked. Across all 10 underperformers, one truth emerges. Even the biggest names and the flashiest specs cannot override real-world flaws. In 2026, software glitches, performance gaps, and pricing misfires have proven fatal. No brand is immune. The lesson is clear. Riders demand substance, not just hype. In today's market, reputation alone will not move metal. Which model shocked you most? Let us talk in the comments.